Hello, sweet squirrels. Junior squirrels. Talked so much last night, and what I said should have been on the senior squirrels. I get lost from where I am sometimes. Boots and his brothers. Hope you little juniors are doing well tonight. Once upon a time, there was a man who had 3 sons, Peter, Paul, and John. John was Boots, of course, because he was the youngest. I can't say the man had anything more than these 3 sons, for he hadn't one penny to rub against another. And so he told his sons over and over again they must go out into the world and try to earn their bread, for at home there was nothing to be looked for but starving to death. Not very far from the man's cottage was the king's palace, and you must know, just against the king's windows, a great oak had sprung up, which was so stout and big that it took away all the light from the king's palace. Tried to hold up my scarf. There we go. Took away all the light from the king's palace. The king had said he would give many, many dollars to the man who could fell the oak, meaning chop it down. But no one was man enough for that, for as soon as ever one chip of the oak's trunk flew off, 2 grew in its stead. A well, too, the king wanted, which would hold water for the whole year. For all his neighbors had wells, but he hadn't any, and that he thought a shame. So the king said he would give anyone who could dig him such a well as would hold water for a whole year round, both money and goods. But no one could do it, for the king's palace lay high. Oops. A fancy Tracy cloth. King's palace lay high up on a hill, and they hadn't dug a few inches before they came upon the rock. But as the king had set his heart on having these 2 things done, he had given it out far and wide in all the churches of his kingdom, that he who could fell the big oak in the king's courtyard and dig him a well that would hold water the whole year round should have the princess and half the kingdom. Well, you may easily know that there was many a man who came to try his luck, but for all their hacking and hewing and all their digging and delving, it was no good. The oak grew bigger and stouter at every stroke, and the rock didn't get softer either. So one day, those 3 brothers thought they'd set off and try too. And their father had no word against it, for even if they didn't get the princess and half the kingdom, it might happen that they might get a place somewhere with a good master. And that was all he wanted. So when the brothers said they thought of going to the palace, their father said yes at once. So Peter, Paul, and Jack went off from their home. I thought his name was John. His name is John, but they're calling him Jack, and I think Jack is a nickname of John, which is strange, but that's the way it is, I think. Well, they hadn't gone far before they came to a fir, F-I-R, wood, which is a type of tree. And as they went, they heard something hewing and hacking away up on a hillside among the trees. I wonder what is hewing away up yonder, said Jack. You're always so clever with your wondering, said Peter and Paul both at once. What wonder is it, pray, that a woodcutter should stand and hack up on a hillside? Still, I'd like to see what it is, said Jack, and up he went. Oh, if you're such a child, 'twill do you good to go and take a lesson, called out his brothers after him. But Jack didn't care what they said. He climbed the steep hillside towards where the noise came. And when he reached the place, what do you think he saw? Why, it was an axe that stood there hacking and hewing all of itself at the trunk of a fir. There was no one holding it, sounds like. "Good day," said Jack. "So you stand here all alone and hew, do you?" "Yes, here I've stood and hewed and hacked a long, long time waiting for you," said the axe. "Well, here I am at last," said Jack as he took the axe, pulled it off his haft, and put head and haft into his wallet. So when he went back to his brothers, they began to jeer and laugh at him. "And now what funny thing was it you saw up yonder on the hillside?" they said. "Oh, it was only an axe we heard," said Jack. So when they had gone a bit farther, they came to a high rock, and they heard something digging and shoveling. "I wonder now," said Jack, "what it is digging and shoveling up yonder at the top of the rock." "Ah, you're always so clever." Same thing. "With your wondering," said Peter and Paul again. Sorry. Okay. "As if you'd never heard a woodpecker hacking and pecking at a hollow tree." "Well, well," said Jack, "I think it would be a piece of fun just to see what it really is." That sounds like my mom. Piece of fun. And so off he set to climb the rock, while the others laughed and made game of him, but he didn't care a bit for that. And when he reached the top, what do you think he saw? Why, a spade that stood there digging and delving. "Good day," said Jack. "So you stand here all alone and dig and delve?" And it was just the shovel. A spade is like a shovel by itself. "Yes, that's what I do," said the spade, "and that's what I've done this many a long day, waiting for you." "Well, here I am," said Jack again, as he took the spade and put it into his wallet. He must have some wallet. Excuse me. Yeah, Granny's been eating popcorn again. "Well, here I am," said... okay, put that in his wallet. "Well, what was it so rare and strange," said Peter and Paul, "that you saw it there at the top of the rock?" "Oh," said Jack, "nothing more than a spade. That's what we heard." So they went on again a good bit till they came to a brook. They were thirsty, all three, after their long walk, so they lay down beside the brook to have a drink. "I wonder," said Jack, "where this water comes from." "I wonder if you have any sense left," said Peter and Paul in one breath. Where the brook comes from, indeed. Have you never heard how water rises from a spring in the earth?" "Yes, but still I've a great fancy to see where this brook comes from," said Jack. So up alongside the brook he went, in spite of all that his brothers called after him. Nothing could stop him. On he went. As he went up and up, the brook got smaller and smaller, and at last, what do you think he saw? Why, a great walnut, and out of that the water trickled. "Good day," said Jack again. "So you lie here and trickle and run down all alone?" "Yes, I do," said the walnut. What do you think? Has he been waiting? "And here I trickled and run this many a long day waiting for you." "Well, here I am," said Jack, as he took up a lump of moss and plugged up the hole that the water mightn't run out. Then he put the walnut into his wallet and ran down to his brothers. "Well now," said Peter and Paul, "have you found out where the water comes from? A sight it must have been." "Oh, after all, it was only a little hole it ran out of," said Jack, and so the others laughed and made game of him again, but Jack didn't mind at all. "After all, I had the fun of seeing it," said he. So when they had gone a bit farther, they came to the king's palace. But as everyone in the kingdom had heard how they might win the princess and half the kingdom if they could only fell the big oak and dig the king's well, so many would come to try their luck that the oak was now twice as stout and as big as it had been at first, for 2 chips grew for every one they hewed out with their axes, as I dare say you all remember. So, the king had now laid it down as a punishment that if anyone tried and couldn't fell the oak, he should be put on a barren island. But the two brothers were not scared by that. They were quite sure they could fell the oak. And Peter, as he was the eldest, was to try his hand first. But it went with him as with the rest who had hewn at the oak. For every chip he cut out, two grew in its place. So the king's men seized him and bound him firmly and put him out on the island. Now Paul was to try his luck, but he fared just the same. And we had honed 2 or 3 strokes, they began to see the oak grow. So the king's men put him on the island too. So now Jack was to try. Well, said the king, if you will go to the desert island, we can send you now and save you the trouble. Well, I'd just like to try first, said Jack, and so he was given permission. Then he took his axe out of his wallet and fitted it to its haft. So he took just the axe part and put it on a handle. But still, it's a lot to put in a wallet. Hew away, he said to his axe, and again it hewed, making the chips fly. So it wasn't long before down came the oak. This sounds like a Jack tale. And I was telling you about Miss Jackie Torrance, the storyteller, and somebody, one of my squirrel squad, told me that, and I looked, and there are YouTube videos of Miss Jackie telling stories. Some you can just hear audio. I think most are just audio, but you should listen to some of them. She tells a lot of Jack tales. Okay, when that was done, Jack pulled out his spade and fitted it to its handle. Dig away, said he to the spade, and so the spade began to dig and delve till the earth and rock flew out in splinters, and so he had the well soon dug out, you may think. And when he had dug it as deep and big as he chose, Jack took out his walnut and laid it in one corner of the well and pulled the plug of moss out. Trickle and run, said Jack, and so the water trickled and ran until it gushed out of the hole in a stream, and in a short time the well was brim full. Then Jack had felled the oak which shaded the king's palace, and dug a well in the palace yard, and so he was given the princess and half the kingdom as the king had said. But it was lucky for Peter and Paul that they were on the barren island, or else they would have heard each hour and day how everyone said. Well, after all, Jack wasn't so foolish when he took to wandering. And the next story is called Briar Rose. And some of you may know what other fairy tale is like that one. And I wish you all a good night. Little Katarina and the rest of my junior squirrels, have a wonderful night and a good sleep. And we will see you tomorrow. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Bye-bye.